two-star recruit to Heisman Trophy winner. It's amazing. I mean, the only thing more impressive in Heisman history is Baker Mayfield going from walk-on to winning the Heisman. I think it's incredible that he's bet on himself every step of the way. And something that kind of goes unnoticed, his entire collegiate career as a starter, he's had a different offensive coordinator, including this year. So I just think that that's like, it's not like he's had mastery over the system forever. He's just gone to work. Welcome back, or welcome to Y Option, a holiday edition, our awards edition, as always, presented by our founding sponsor and dear friend 76, keeping you on the go so you never miss a beat. Jim Thornby is there. I am here back in LA. Jim, happy holidays, man.
Happy holidays, and welcome back. Welcome home from your snowy adventure in the Big Apple.
It sure was. It was an adventure, though. The only thing missing was you, because people asked about you so often. We've done the Heisman a handful of times together. So I was kind of rolling alone here on it. But it was, and I'm not saying this to put like salt in the wound, it was as cool of a Heisman as I've ever seen. My 8th one as a media member or a coach. I was around one with Larry Fitzgerald in 2003. We wrote about that at yoption.com over the weekend. So 9 times I feel like I've been connected to this award. Jim, you've been there in the post presser every time you've been.
I've been there twice, right? Yeah. I was there for Caleb, and I was there for Travis Hunter last year.
Okay, so just to set the stage for people, where the media is the hotel, the Marriott Marquis in Midtown Manhattan. Where the event is in Columbus Circle, where you see Chris Fowler and the TV and all the fun stuff. It's maybe a mile away, not even, but it takes a little while to go from back and forth to the other. My point is that we were with the media in the compound, and Jim, you've been there before, and it's pretty quiet. Everybody's watching it. You're doing your work. You're tweeting. You're doing social media. You're on Threads. You're doing your thing. And then after the winner is announced, there's about a 30 to 45 minute wait. We just kind of hang tight, and then the winner comes in with his coach, and it's this amazing press conference. Before everybody's kind of anticipating, where is Fernando? When is he going to show up? And here comes Aiden Fisher, who's a star linebacker for this team. Here comes all these other players into this, media area, and they are loud. Like, they've been going out, and I'm not saying what they did. I don't know what they did, but you can imagine like 20 of your boys, like just imagine a bachelor party or your wedding, like you roll in after you've done everything. And it was like a mosh pit. So that's happening before Fernando shows up. Then everybody's wondering, where is he? And he makes his way in, and it was the scene that you saw on social media that has since, the one video that I take finally gets some attention. It was nuts, dude. It was like jumping on him, like, it was so pure. It's probably the best way I could describe it. So that was awesome. I'm curious, what did you think when you saw that hit? Because we tagged Y Option in it the way it went.
Yeah, it's funny because I saw that video, and I think right around the same time that I saw the video, I saw a tweet from Ralph Russo at The Athletic and talking about how the players were doing their best to behave themselves and and stay quiet. So having been in that room and, knowing what that environment was like, I did chuckle at that, but it was pretty cool to see. I know, like, it is such a whirlwind for the winner, from the moment that person's name gets announced to, like, from that point on, it's like, go. It's like you got to do whatever you're doing up there, Columbus Circle, come back to your presser. Then they have all sorts of other things for you to do, all night long, basically. So it's, but it was cool to see from that video that you took, his teammates being there to be able to celebrate with him.
Yeah, it was cool, man. I've never gotten more DMs from like Fox, ESPN,
I saw Bleacher Report. That wasn't even a DM. That was just a reply to the video. Just like, hey, are you cool if we just use this?
Yeah, who cares? Yeah, use it all, folks. We don't care. Nobody needs even credit. It doesn't matter. Just celebrate Fernando. Yeah. I think something that people may not know if you didn't read our newsletter was, last year, Jim, we were there and we got a bunch of interviews with parents, and you go to the 45th floor, and that's where it was this year. But there's a floor really high where like all the past winners come. It's kind of a floor they kind of seems like they take over, and there's like a hospitality suite. Well, after the Heisman, Indiana, shout out to IU and their whole comms department, the whole athletic department, they allow us to get a one-on-one interview with Fernando Mendoza, the winner. And Ohio State was going to do the same thing if Julian Sain won as well. Again, been there a bunch. Not even a consideration that you get the Heisman winner for a one-on-one afterwards. And I've worked for conference networks forever. Like, your family, you're in the mix. Like, you know the guys. But it's just like you never ask because there's just so much going on. If you do ask, you never anticipate a yes. It was a hard yes from the beginning of the planning stages. So it ends. He's there. He does his press conference. Coach Cignetti does his. You're watching the whole thing shake out. And then the player goes to Times Square, take a photo holding the hardware, which is a moment all over the internet. In the meantime, I'm sprinting with a TVU, which is like a connection to the internet, a backpack, with our camera operator and audio. We get to the 45th floor because they give us a key. No one's in there. It's Fernando's room for the night. Like, he gets the winner's suite. And we're in there, you're setting up your lights, you're kind of doing all the stuff. And he rolls in, and, I've known him for a long time. And it was probably, I think it was nice to see a familiar face. It's probably the best way to say it. Because I got to see him take a breath, what it felt like. Because you're right. They're going. And Indiana set up about 4 or 5 interviews with people from Bloomington and people that they approved. It was just cool to talk to him. And he shared the one thing that he said he never shared before to anybody, which was, preseason, he wrote on a piece of paper, this was one of his goals. And I just love that he shared that because he's the ultimate team guy. Every one of these quarterbacks are. But you also know that they've got this desire to get to New York. And he did, and he won it. And I left out of there like just with tremendous hope for like the sport. Because really all the candidates up until like I saw Diego Pavia's social media, like, were so impressive in terms of how they handled everything. And Diego has apologized, and hopefully he grows a ton from that because that was obviously a massive mistake. But overall, like, Fernando to win it felt like, it just felt good. I guess best way to say it.
Yeah, and I think that's the perfect transition because he was the 2-star recruit, depending on what, service you use as far as whether it was the 134th QB recruit of his class or 140th, whatever that be, for him to make that journey. He talked about it on the broadcast about going to all these camps, just begging to get noticed. So I think as that, we will transition into our awards.
Here we go.
Yeah, with our 5-star QB, and it has to be Fernando. I mean, as the Heisman winner, the first time ever an Indiana player won. He won every single region of the voting, which I was a little bit surprised of. I thought Pavia would maybe take the Southeast just because of the way that the Southeast normally votes for said award. But, he had the school record for touchdowns. He's first in this. There was all sorts of debate about people's ballots and all the rest of it. But at the end of the day, I think it's fitting for our 5-star QB to also be the guy who took home the Heisman Award this weekend.
Amen. Yes, exactly right. Fernando Mendoza, congratulations, our 5-star quarterback of the year. And you nailed it, Jim. His path, 2-star recruit to Heisman Trophy winner. It's amazing. I mean, the only thing more impressive in Heisman history is Baker Mayfield going from walk-on to winning the Heisman. I think it's incredible that he's bet on himself every step of the way. And something that kind of goes unnoticed, his entire collegiate career as a starter, he's had a different offensive coordinator, including this year. So I just think that's like, it's not like he's had mastery over the system forever. He's just gone to work. When you listen to Coach Cignetti talk about the way that he prepares, I had a chance to spend time with Chandler Whitmer, the quarterback coach, and Mike Shanahan, former Hail to Pitt wide receiver, who is the play caller, offensive coordinator, prior to him coming in for his press availability. And they just rave about the type of guy he is. They get to work with every day. So I think for all the young quarterbacks out there, you're always trying to model your game. That's what this is. It's a society in the quarterback world where Fernando tried to be Tom Brady. And now there's a 7th grader that's going to be at the Elite 11, middle school camp this coming weekend here in LA that is going to try to mirror Fernando Mendoza. And I love that because the first time I talked to him, you can imagine it. It was Mr. Roth, Mrs. Adamson, Mr. Robinson, Mr. Molinari. We were calling his game when he was at Cal. And I said, show me your screensaver. And his screensaver was Tom Brady. And he just went off for 10 minutes about why he was his idol, why he modeled his life after him. And I just think he's very aware. He's got this ability to just understand his surroundings on the field, in the pocket, but also off the field. And I think all of those things are why he is our winner of our 5-star quarterback of the year. And he also has a little bit bigger of a trophy with the Heisman Trophy. So congrats, Fernando. Fired up for you, man.
And I love that he gave a shout out to Cal during his speech there. And I thought it was kind of funny that everyone thought that he had a good few years at Cal, but he has more touchdown passes this year than those 2 years at Cal combined. So like that was just kind of like shocking to me in a way. So yeah, as you mentioned, congrats to Fernando. Moving on to our next award is another guy who also took home another award this weekend. For our Go Go Gone award winner is the Bolitnikoff Award winner, Makai Lemon from USC. He led all Power 4 receivers in receiving yards at 1,156 yards this season.
Yeah, congratulations, Makai Lemon. Go, go, gone. I love saying your name because that's my youngest son's name. And again, big love to 76, our founding partner, presenting all of these awards. And calling a couple games for USC this year, it was obvious that Makai Lemon's game went to another level. He wasn't even a full-time starter all of last year at USC with the amount of wide receivers they had on that roster, but he just went to work. Watching his humility with Lincoln Riley when he accepted the award and he found out that he won it was amazing, because I think at that position, some of the best ones are really humble. Larry Fitzgerald, the guy that I know well, I think Amon-Ra St. Brown, what he did at USC, what he's doing in the NFL, the best ones do it. And at USC, for all the receivers they've had there, he's only the second one to ever win the Bolitnikoff. And as a voter, he got my vote for that award because of what he did in big moments. Double covered, all eyes on him. He just continued to make play after play for the majority of the games this season. When his team needed it most, he elevated. I'm really excited for him, and most importantly, the development that he's had all season long. And it felt like every time he touched it, he had a chance to be go-go gone. So congrats, Makai. Fired up for you.
Yeah, it was funny because, a lot of Ohio State fans were not thrilled the fact that Jeremiah Smith did not win that award for the Bolitnikoff. I don't think in any way, shape, or form that takes anything away from him. I think probably most people still think he is the best receiver in the nation. I think Lemon had a little bit better of a year for whatever reason that is. So I think whichever one of those guys won the Bolitnikoff, I think there was no one could really downplay either one of them, because I think they were both tremendous this season. And speaking of another award here, we have our That Dude, and I think it's got to go to Kenyon Sadiq out in Oregon. Now, if you look at the stats, he had the most touchdowns by any tight end this season with 8. He was 10th in receptions with 40, 15th in receiving yards with 490. But I think as we've set up this award for now the last 2 years, that this award is more than stats, with Mr. Sadiq taking this coveted award home.
I think every weekend calling a game, you always ask coordinators, especially on the defensive side, who's that dude you have to take away? Who's that dude that you got to know where he is on every single offensive snap, which is why Kenyon Sadiq is that dude for us, again, presented by our founding partner, 76, keeping you on the go, 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 so you never miss a beat. And to me, I would just love his development at the position. I can remember talking to this staff 2 years ago, last year in training camp, and this year in training camp. When he was a young guy, they were like, look out for this dude. 2 years ago, they said, look out, he's going to be Brock Bowers pretty soon. This year, it was kind of confirmed coming into the season. He had a chance to be one of the best tight ends in America. And Jim, the way that Will Stein and Dan Lanning, this offense, utilized him is really what stood out the most to me. He'd line up in the backfield. He'll line up at tight end. He'll line up as an H-back in motion. He'll line up as a wide receiver. He'll catch it down the seam. He'll catch it outside. He'll run double moves. He'll run over you. He'll leap over you. I mean, he did every single thing, and it's not going to be a shocker to watch him play well, I'd imagine, this weekend, or defenses try to take him away because he's such a critical player. Linebackers can't run with him. DBs can't handle the size. Surprised he didn't win the Mackey Award, but there's a lot of talent at all these positions. You just referenced wide receiver. Heck, I almost voted for Jeremiah Smith for the Heisman. So I do think he's like the best player in America. You're nodding your head.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what's fun about these three players thus far in these awards. And Kenyon Sadiq, man, I can't wait to watch him compete. And then I'll finish with one last story. I think it's really important for players to look at those who have set the precedent for them. And often it's on the internet, like I referenced. It could be Tom Brady for Fernando Mendoza. It could be Larry Fitzgerald for Makai Lemon. But it could also be somebody in your room. Terrence Ferguson a year ago was tight end 1 for the Oregon Ducks. And the story goes that prior to hitting the practice field, he would always strap up his chin strap. And he would never walk on the field. He would never jog on the field. He would run on the field and he'd be ready to go. Well, the coaching staff told me earlier this offseason that's exactly what Kenyon Sadiq has done as well. He has mirrored one of the top tight ends in recent Oregon history and maybe elevated it with the numbers and his ability. But the point is, you want to be a pro, you got to act like one. He saw a pro who's now in the NFL. He's going to find his way there whenever he chooses to do so. And I just love the approach of the little things. And that, to me, is why he has stood out. And it's also a reason why he has won that award for that dude right here at Y Option.
He's Jack.
Go here, go there, go anywhere with 76.
Yeah, and what was really impressive to me was the way that his numbers even stepped up even more those last 3 games when they were just ravaged by injuries at wide receiver. We'll talk a little bit about that maybe here in a sec, about that. Some of those guys are coming back to practice this week. So but yeah, again, it was just super impressive what he did. And then our 4th and final award, the Headset Hero. I mean, I think it's a no-brainer, really, at this point with Curt Cignetti. And not just for the fact that they're the number 1 seed and they're 13-0, but you look at what what he's done with this program. Now 24-2 the last 2 seasons. They won 23 games the previous 5 years combined, which is insane. He's the first to ever win the Walter Camp Award in back-to-back years in the 59-year history of this award. So I think, again, just a no-brainer for him to be taking this home.
Yeah, and I think when you talk Coach of the Year award, like, it can get nuance. This is why we created the Headset Hero, because we love the nuance of that, right? If you take a team that won 2 games last year and they won 6, you're in the conversation for Coach of the Year. If you do what Dan Lanning did and had to totally reload, you're in the conversation. If you're Ryan Day, you had to navigate a team coming off a natty, you're in the conversation. Like, that's kind of the point. It's nuanced. But this is the first time I think in my career that I'm like, oh yeah, it's Coach Curt Cignetti. Because to your point, what he's done we've never seen before. Now, I've heard of Coach Cignetti my entire football life, growing up in Pennsylvania, playing at Pitt. His brother Frank was the offensive coordinator for a couple stints there. His dad, of course, is a Hall of Famer from West Virginia when he was there. Like, you knew the Cignetti name, knew when he was the head coach at IUP in Western Pennsylvania. You kind of followed his path. Got to Indiana, and I don't think anybody saw what is the reality now. And what I love about him, and part of why he's our Headset Hero here at Y Option, presented by our founding partner 76, is because Curt Cignetti, he's got his philosophy, he's got his way, and he adapts to what is reality, but he's not going to blow with the wind. And years ago, I wrote a thesis about what makes a great coach great, Jim, when I was a GA, young coach at USC. And at the time, 2 things stood out. And I studied Phil Jackson, John Wooden, Pete Carroll, Mike Krzyzewski, like the great Anson Dorrance. I mean, there's a lot of coaches that went into the research on it. And what I netted out was, 1, you have to be independent in thought. You can't try to be like your dad or try to be like Nick Saban or try to be like it. You have to be independent in thought. 2, you have to be uncommonly consistent. Talk to anybody in Indiana. It is a structured operation. It is uncommonly consistent. Then the third one I think I've thought about in the last 10 years, and Sean McVay really turned me onto it, is you have to be an elite communicator. And Curt Cignetti is. He's very direct. It's never, demeaning, right? He's got a standard, and he's not going to waver. And if you watch the 60 Minutes feature that was just released earlier this weekend, it's a really beautiful piece about how when he walked in there, he felt like he didn't know if people even thought they had a chance, which is why you saw him say some of the things that seemed outlandish at the time. He clearly spoke them all into existence, but he wanted to see if he could wake them up. He had a way, and he wasn't going to adjust his standard. And I think for all of us in any profession, whatever headset, quote unquote, we are putting on every day in our profession, your standard is your standard. And if you're in a leadership position, you have to hold that. And he has done that everywhere he has been. He's done it in Indiana. And my last thing on him, for all these other coaches heading into a new job or into year 2, the pressure is on in a real way. And not just because of his success, Jim, but they don't have like $35 million on top of rev share. They are doing it through identification of talent and identification of personality traits, and then development of players and scheme. It is, to me, one of the greatest teams I've ever seen. It's why I picked them to go win it all. Why not? They've looked that way all season. Why would I think it should change? Maybe they got an injury to Stephen Daly, the defensive end. We'll find out. But bottom line, our headset hero is Curt Cignetti for so many reasons. And I think it's a real inspiration to a lot of coaches that think they need to get their shot in their 30s or their 40s. He bet on himself at 50, and look what he is in his early 60s. One of the best, if not the best of my lifetime. I definitely argue the last 15 years, the best head coach I've ever seen.
Yeah, and what's funny is he's not doing a lot of other coaches a lot of favors, because now everyone else is like, well, look what Indiana did. Here they are, 2 years, and so it's like, it's just incredible what he's done. And, this weekend, obviously, we know what he'll be doing. He won't be coaching this weekend. He'll be his eyes laser focused on the TV, I am sure, because the playoffs are starting. And the team, he knows that they'll be playing in the Rose Bowl. Who they will be playing, he does not know. But he does know it will be from Friday night's game, the winner of that, between Alabama and Oklahoma, which obviously a SEC rematch from earlier this season. We've seen now Bama lose to Oklahoma in each of the last 2 years. We've seen Alabama's head coach in the news quite a bit the last week or so because his name is very popular when it comes to other jobs. Michigan being one of them. He's come out and said, no one's come out and talked to me. I'm not interested in talking to anybody. Now, take that what it is. With every coach in the country, you hear things said about them until that Michigan job gets filled. I think there's always going to be the questions like, oh, is he going to do this, going to do that? But for right now, he is the coach at Alabama. They are playing at Oklahoma. They need a win to kind of keep that ball rolling. So what do you think about that game on Friday night?
I mean, my first thought was like, what a game to kick off the CFP. Like, I'm in the camp of like, let's just keep the season moving a little bit. But you have a little break. You have the Heisman. Like, we'll do an episode on the calendar. We all agree in the whole world that it's a little out of whack. But last year was Indiana Notre Dame, which was awesome. In-state, the Friday night game in South Bend. Are you kidding me? You don't know if that could ever be upstaged. It is upstaged with this one. A rematch in the vaunted SEC. You got Bama coming off a game where they did not look the part. Like, they did not look the part like they did the first time they played Georgia. And they kind of had seemingly, at least from the world's perspective, to fight for their playoff lives if you're outside of the South. You're saying, well, BYU and Alabama and, of course, the Notre Dame argument. So here they are. They get this opportunity, and they're going up against a team in Oklahoma that, remember early in the season, it was the John Mateer show. Ben Arbuckle, our boys, and it hasn't necessarily been that. So I'm so curious. Teams play each other a second time. This is the second time this season Alabama's played a team the second time. I think that's an advantage for Alabama. We know where the game is at. We know what Mateer can do with his legs. And you can't ignore what Bama looked like last time out. They did not look as impressive as we thought they would look at that point of the season.
Yeah, and it's interesting when you look at the two. If you look at not just this year's game, but last year's game between these two teams, two things have been kind of consistent in that. One, Alabama struggled to run the ball, which, knowing what Oklahoma's run defense is this year, that's kind of understandable. But still, they have not run the ball to their standard of what they do. The other thing that they have not done, or that they have done that they need to stop doing, is turning the ball over. 3 turnovers this year, 3 turnovers last year. So that's the one thing, like, if they're going to turn the ball over three times again this weekend, they're probably headed home. And the Sooners are probably advancing to the Rose Bowl.
Who do you want to win? Like, who do you want to see Indiana play?
I'd like to see Alabama. I mean, I know all the controversy around Alabama making it in. I think that without a doubt, they are actually the better team here. I think for that reason, I would like to see them, advance. Obviously, I like Kalen from his days at UW. Like, there's, that kind of personal connection from that. But I would like to see. I think here's what I think will happen if Alabama loses. Every other fan base will be, see, we told you they suck. They didn't belong there. I don't think that'll be the same case with Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma was in on the merits that they had. There was no real we need to have the Oklahoma conversation. I think for the sanity of some of the CFP people, I think it would be good for Alabama to win. Although, like, people think this is a giant conspiracy that the CFP people control everything. They don't have that kind of have that kind of power. So, but short story there. I think Alabama is the team that I would like to see win, and the team that I think will win this game.
Yeah, I think it'd be for Indiana's sake. And again, I picked them to win it, so I'm just going to lean down that road. Not even because I'm a Big Ten guy, but just the idea. I think that they've proven that all season. They've been the most complete team and most consistent team from a performance standpoint. I think they're better against a pocket passer. Their pass rush is insane. Like, it's out of this world in terms of where they're coming from, how they're coming. So I think they want to play a Ty Simpson versus a more mobile John Mateer. And then I just imagine the Rose Bowl. I'll be covering with our friend Rhett Lewis and Ashley Adamson and the Big Ten Network. Alabama, Indiana. I want this Indiana story to keep going because in all the craziness of college football, how cool would it be if they beat Ohio State, they beat Alabama, and then who knows? I mean, they're going to have to. That's what the CFP is. But for Indiana, the losingest program in the history of the sport, according to the 60 Minutes piece I just watched. Wow. So
and you brought up Simpson, which is interesting because he was a guy that was looking like he was going to be a guy going to New York. In those first 8 games, he had 21 touchdown passes. The last 5 games, only 5. And 3 of those 5 came in the Auburn game. So will the real Ty Simpson show up to this game is a question there.
Okay, so tease for the end of this episode. Stick around as we get through these previews because what's happening now is a lot of players are signing. Right. I'm coming back, not signing with an agent or signing an NFL contract. So we'll talk about that at the end. All right, Miami A&M. I'm going Miami. Mario Cristobal. It'd just be fun. It'd be a lot for him to face Dan Lanning in the national title. I'm here for it if it happens. What do you think about this one in College Station, which is still the best grass my eyes or my feet and my cleats have ever been on?
Well, it's funny because this is also, obviously not as big of a thing, but these are 2 teams that do have recent rivalry with each other. They played each other in 2023, and Miami won that game 48-33. Tyler Van Dyke, a name I haven't heard in a while, 374 pass yards, 5 touchdown passes in that game. They played in 2022 in College Station with the Aggies winning that game. The quarterback for the Aggies in that game, Max Johnson, who is now going back into the transfer portal again this year, leaving North Carolina. But I think the quarterback play is going to be what is going to be the deciding factor on this. You look at Carson Beck in the 2 losses that they have this year, 6 picks. So can he control the ball? Malachi Tony is one of the best players in the country, especially as a freshman. The last 2 games of the season? 25 catches, 272 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He can even throw the ball. He's 4 for 6, 82 yards, and 2 scores on the play. But what's interesting for A&M, they have not gotten back on the field yet since losing that game to Texas on the night after Thanksgiving, which seems like an eternity ago for them to be able to put that game behind them. So what is their mindset entering this game? Do they have their head on right? Marcel Reed did not have a very good game in that. He was another, just like Ty Simpson, a guy who I thought was on their way to New York. It's funny, I thought there was going to be an SEC quarterback there, and I thought all these other guys were ahead in the pecking order of Diego Pavia, but Pavia kept doing his thing, and all these guys kind of started falling off the wayside. So I think it's going to come down to which one of those quarterbacks plays well in that game.
Yeah. It's. I can't wait to watch this one. Carson Beck, met him at the Elite 11. He was a huge recruit, right? He goes to Georgia, does his thing there. Very rarely did we think that we would see an incumbent starter to blue blood leave. I watched it today when I got off my plane. Dylan Raiola, right? Incumbent 2-year starter leaving. So we're in a new world. And I like when those players, because they catch so much slack and vitriol when they leave. And he got a lot of it. Some of it he earned, some of it he didn't. That's just how it works now. I like that he's playing at a high level, and you're going to hate that. I don't know if you're going to hate that I say this, but I'm about to say something that I used to hate. But it's I like when Miami's good. I think it's great for the game. I think it's great for college football when their games are sold out like they were when I played against the Hurricanes, because it's been that long, folks. It has been a long time since Miami's had a chance to take a run at a national title. And you got to give Mario Cristobal a ton of credit. He's another guy. Talk about the nuances for the coach of the year, like to navigate his team after tough losses in the middle of the season. Like it's been impressive. They're tough. They're hard-nosed. Like they got a QB. To your point, they got skill. One of the freakiest freshmen we've seen in a while. So it's gonna be fun to watch that one. But I loved your point about the time off. This is exactly what we have with Ole Miss. We also have the story the world has heard.
Speaking of leaving it with turmoil.
Yeah. I just watched the Lane Kiffin documentary because I was delayed for so long on my way from New York on the tarmac for 6.5 hours. It's on like 3 times. It's on loop. So you just watch it on ESPNU or whatever one it was. So I got to watch it. They amended the end. So give them credit there. Our good friends did that over at ESPN. It's awesome to that point. I don't know what's going to happen here, man. Like he allowed some of the staff back, right? And Charlie Weiss Jr.
Pretty much everybody but him.
Okay. So, which is cool. Like right move. I don't know, like what factor is Lane? Obviously, they'll be playing in spite of him, and they'll be rallied around Pete Goulding, their new head coach, whose media has been amazing. And also Tulane, their coach is going to Florida potentially after this game, but after this run is the most appropriate way to say it. I saw it as an upset going in, but I don't feel that way anymore. What do you think?
Well, I mean, obviously, it's funny that these two teams have already played each other this year. And Ole Miss dominated that game. They won 45-10. They were up 23-3 at halftime. What was it? They outgained Tulane 548-282. I mean, it was dominant. Jake Retzlaff, the BYU transfer, kind of funny that he's in the playoff and BYU is not in the playoff. I mean, I think that's probably a story that doesn't get talked about as not
at Jim Thornby, BYU fans.
There we go.
I didn't say it was funny.
But, I mean, just ironic, I guess is maybe the better term for it. But that was Retzlaff's worst game of the year. He was 5 of 17 for 56 yards. He actually had almost as many rushing.
That was a typo.
Yeah, he had almost as many rushing yards as he did passing yards. He had 51. But he was also Tulane's leading rusher this year. So, it was just that kind of thing where, I can't remember exactly how many yards he had on the season, but he had 14 or 16 rushing touchdowns. So, I mean, that was kind of their offense was built around him. That was also the second start for Ole Miss of Trinidad Chambliss, which, this time last year was with Ferris State going for a national title at the lower level. And now here he is competing on this level. Even at the beginning of the year, nobody really knew who this guy was. It was, Austin Simmons' job. And then he got hurt. And all of a sudden in this game, Chambliss had 307 pass yards, 112 rush yards. And it's just like, who is this dude? We also know that Kewan Lacey, the Missouri transfer, is one of the best running backs in the country this year. So they've got, if Ole Miss's head is where it needs to be, I think they win this game fairly convincingly. But I think it could be obviously a lot of distractions going on with everybody. How many of these guys are already thinking, okay, am I coming back to Ole Miss next year? Am I going to go to LSU next year? Am I going somewhere else? But really, in this day and age of college football, that's probably everybody. Everybody's thinking about what am I doing next year? Unfortunately, everyone is a free agent at the end of every year. So I think that's going to be it. What is Ole Miss's mental, focus during this game? Because I think talent-wise, there's no question that they are the better team.
Yeah, I agree with that. They are the better team. They've got the better roster. They got more resources clearly than Tulane. It's why Coach Summerall's on his way to the SEC. The rematch thing is just kind of, will that be another rule amended within the CFP? I hope they don't amend a lot of rules, but I understand that one a little bit. I wonder what the viewership will be like. I think that there'll be a lot of viewership on Lane's social media throughout the game because it's what he did in Alabama. Remember when he left Alabama, went to job in Florida with our friend Pat Chun. It'll be interesting. I think I'm most curious about is the loss of Lane offensively felt because he's brilliant on offense. Conversely, if you had to choose who you were going to lose, would you say you didn't want to lose your DC because you have a dual threat quarterback and you know what's coming down the pipe if you are to advance potentially into the next round? And I think there is something in these CFP games. I think they'll be lower scoring than we think due to the time off, due to the scheme, to the players, all of the things, the performance anxiety. So we'll see, which leads us into our finale, which I will be at. James Madison visiting the Ducks, a pseudo night game. It'll probably be right around dark by the time this thing kicks off. 4:30 Pacific on TNT, HBO Max, True TV with ESPN talent. It'll be awesome. Let's just lean into it, folks. Lean into it. I like this because we have Bob Chesney, the head coach of James Madison, who I just had a chance to meet. Pennsylvania, PA to LA. You know, we love that path over here. He's going to be the head coach here in Westwood after their season concludes. Next year, he's be leading his team into Eugene to play the Ducks. So I love, like, on the sneak for the UCLA fans watching, it's great that he's an idea of what Autzen is by the time he gets to you next year. We've done this with a lot of first-time head coaches. Jim, you remember, like, first time Lincoln Riley went to Corvallis, it was like, whoa, what is that? I remember him and Caleb and company talking about that, especially in new leagues. So I think this is a positive for them. JMU, it's kind of the Cignetti thing. It's new players, a different team, but I love the edge. I love the vibe. They'll play great team football. I think the problem is they're running into the most undervalued team in the country. I truly believe outside of Ohio State and Oregon, the only other team that I think can go win it all and win it consistently is the Ducks. I haven't seen the consistency from Georgia offensively to think that on this run. And I think that the Ducks handle business in this one.
Yeah, it's interesting because for one, I think it's at JMU Sports News or whatever that account is.
You love that.
It's killing it. They are the highlight so far of the college football playoff. They had the one where they were showing the slow motion video of the Oregon players. Is like, oh man, something to the effect of like, oh, we're going to kill these guys. Look how slow they are. I mean, they are leaning into it because everyone is telling them that they don't belong here. And kudos to them for just saying, yeah, we do belong here. I mean, it's not like they haven't competed against Power 4 teams these last 4 years. I mean, the last 2 years with Chesney and the 2 years before that with Cignetti. This year, they lost at Louisville 28-14. They're like, oh, they lost by 14 points. But that game was, that was a defensive struggle. JMU actually outgained them in that game. It was tied at 14 at the end of the third quarter. Louisville got a fumble in the end zone, and then they had a 78-yard TD run. So, like, that game was close. Louisville, you look the year before, North Carolina they won 70-50. Alonzo Barnett, who is still their quarterback now, in that game had 388 pass yards, 5 touchdowns, 99 yards rushing, and 2 more rushing touchdowns. It was a game that had 1,227 total yards. This is a team that can put up some offense. And like Oregon, they're one of the 4 teams in the country that are the top 10 in both scoring offense and scoring defense. Now, you can say, oh, but who do they play? Sure. But at some point, they still performed out there and they did it. So I don't think they're going to win this game by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't think they're going to lose by 40. Like how some people are painting the picture that, the G5 teams don't even belong on the field with them, that it's a safety concern that they're playing against them. I think all that kind of talk is ridiculous. Now, the good news for Oregon, or go ahead.
I'm about to say I wholeheartedly agree, and then I immediately see Liberty losing they score first and lose by 50 or whatever it was to Oregon a couple years ago in the Fiesta Bowl.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I don't know in this regard, and it's not their fault that they're in. They should be in. You could blame a bunch of teams in the ACC for why they're in, or there's 2 teams in. They've earned it. They did that part. I do think there's something to being really well coached, to your point. Like, I don't think we're going to see Oregon have guys wide open everywhere. Knowing what I've learned about Bob Chesney and his acumen, his background, what his teams have done, I think they'll be positioned well. It will be, are the Ducks in slow motion? Like, it'll be, can they get off of a block from Kenyon Sadiq, who just won an award for us here at Y Option? Like, that's going to be the thing. And I just think the Ducks will just lean on them. I think it'll be, to your point, it'll be a really competitive snap. And then the next snap, and the next snap. The challenge will be like, is it 1st and 10? And then is it 2nd and 3 or 2nd and 7? And then is it 1st and 10 or is it 3rd and 6? Like, that is going to be the thing. And that's how I see a lot of these teams. This was Ohio State last year. They just keep leaning on you and leaning on you and leaning on you. And I think that's probably what will happen as the game plays out.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. And I think Oregon might be starting to get to full strength here. I just saw some tweets today that there were all 3 of their receivers, Evan Stewart, DeCorian Moore, Gary Bryant, were all at practice today. Now, what that means for this weekend, who knows? Well, I'm sure by the time you're listening to this, more news will have come out about those three. But the ball is rolling in that direction. You look at Dante Moore, the last 3 games has been balling out. Like I mentioned, Sadiq earlier, without those receivers, the last few weeks has been balling out. They've got that 3-headed monster at running back. I mean, the stats, each one of them is like the leader in a different stat. Whittingham leads them in rushing yards, 774. Jordan Davison, 13 rushing touchdowns. Deer Hill, 8.2 yards per carry. So it's like each one of them has their own little thing that they do, which is just so hard to prepare for. I think obviously to what you're saying, Oregon is one of those teams that can win it all this year. It's unfortunate for James Madison that's the draw that they got with Oregon as the 5 seed. But I think it'll still be a fun game to watch. As I mentioned, I think Alonzo Barnett is a fun quarterback to watch. Wayne Knight, their running back, is a fun player to watch. He's 7 runs of 40-plus yards, tied for the most in FBS. Alonzo Barnett's backup quarterback, who earlier on in the season they were splitting some carries with, Matthew Sluka. Yes, that Matthew Sluka from UNLV is the backup quarterback at James Madison. So who knows? He actually, when he played this year, he ran the ball somewhat effectively, but Barnett, who was coming off of an ACL injury from the year before, they kind of eased him back in, and Sluka was in there, and then Barnett just took off and wound up winning the Conference Player of the Year. So
wow. Okay, a couple things before we put a ball on this for the CFP. One, for the Bruin fans, and really every team out there, they're going to be watching Tulane and JMU, the 2 group of 5 teams, to be like, who do we need to go get?
Yeah.
To be real. For the UCLA fans, I think they have Cignetti 2.0. I've seen that all over my YouTube algorithm. Curt Cignetti is coached for a long time, as has Bob Chesney. Bob Chesney, I think, 183 total games as a head coach. 183 games. So I'd love that. So he's experienced. How many of those players are going to come to Westwood? I'd be thinking that. I'd imagine a healthy amount with just the way that the sport is and what we've seen. We talked about this last year of, is there a model for an AD to go get a school like JMU, like they did with SIG? Didn't think it'd be the exact same school, and have that model with players following you that know the culture, that might be an inch or two shorter than the prototype, but clearly doesn't matter for people like Aiden Fisher and company, who just had an insane season for Indiana. Okay, couple other little things before we get out of here. One, Kai Whittingham decided to step down. Obviously, that's a fluid scenario there with him, but what he did at Utah is cemented in history, and he deserves all of that credit. We are not breaking any news. Everyone in the history of the sport will agree to that. I watched him, Jim, in his first game as a head coach, my first press conference in the media at a big-time bowl game. He's the co-head coach with Urban Meyer. That's a story for another day. Coach Meyer, you still owe me my notes that you took at practice that day. But he took it that day, and then he hasn't looked back. He's been through 1, 2, 3, 4 leagues, right, I think, as a head coach. He's just navigated a ton in his time there, on the field, off the field. He's put this place in a position to be considered real. Think about where they came from the Mountain West to the Pac-12 to obviously where they are now. People talk about them as a CFP team every year. They'll do the same with Morgan Scalley. So congratulations to him and the stability that that program has now amid unstable programs all across the country in college football. So I just wanted to give him a shout out. I know you spent a bunch of time with him, Jim, as well. Anything you want to share about Coach Witt?
Yeah, no, I mean, he's just, to me, I'll think back of when you and I went to the NFL draft when Devin Lloyd was going to be a first round pick, and he was there in Vegas, whatever. And him and Coach Witt and the linebacker coach were both there to, experience that with them. And just, I mean, Coach Witt is just a very friendly individual. And like, he doesn't take himself too seriously. He just is like a real person. And like, as what my old job was in dealing, not that I dealt with the coaches a lot, but when I did deal with the coaches, like, he was a joy to deal with because he's direct, but not like stern in a sense. So like, he was just great to work with. And I'll definitely be New Year's Eve watching the Vegas Bowl for his swan song with the Utes.
Yeah, nobody loves Vegas like Coach Witt, I feel like, too. My favorite quote, which is going to bridge to our final topic here, my favorite quote is from Kyle Whittingham in my time in college football, which is, quote, "You are either in or you are in the way," end quote. And that is how his program was run. And that is why Coach Cignetti is having success, because it's very similar. Like, you see a discipline. Again, I'll go back to the things I researched 20 years ago. I think there's something to that. Okay. Something new that is emerging that I didn't think would be a trend when I saw it for the first time, Jim, but I think it's going to be a trend. Let me share with you what I think it is. So we are seeing players re-sign right now, and not on signing day, like re-sign, but as in like, I am signing an agreement, clearly a financial agreement, to come back to said school. We saw USC social media start kicking stuff out earlier this week, and it was running back Wayman Jordan saying, sign, just like you do in the NFL when you're a free agent or you're a draftee and you sign at that said franchise. Now we are seeing it in college. You said earlier, everybody's a free agent. Nobody likes it, but it is the truth. Before I give you the second half of it, I want to hear what are your thoughts when you saw that kind of cross your threads page and all of a sudden you're watching people sign on the dotted line, knowing they're signing just to return to the place they're already enrolled at?
Well, the first one I think I saw from this season was Sadiq Politelli saying he was coming back to Cal, which was pretty much right around the same time that Tosh took the job there. And it's just like, you know what? This is unfortunately the new normal in college football. Not it's not like unfortunate, and not that the fact that the kids have these opportunities to go and move around, but that it is truly the Wild West for all of them. And for the ones that maybe even think that they're going to stay, there might not be those opportunities for them to stay. You know, it is becoming a job. It is becoming a profession. It is to an extent NFL light. It's not there yet, thankfully, but it's got to be where this is headed with everything and the chaos.
But don't you want it there? Like, I know we don't have a lot of time here, but like, wouldn't you want it kind of there? Like, you signed for 2 years. Like, I just think like the amount of, the portal hasn't opened yet, but we just keep hearing about all the quarterbacks that are entering it. Of the Elite 11 a couple years ago, I think 13 of the 20 quarterbacks from the portal, that's Dylan Raiola's class, Julian Sain's class. I just wonder, like, should we get to a place where like we kind of have agreements that are longer than 6 months?
Yes, but also like I'm still that college football romantic of like that guy signs and I'm connected to that player for the next 3 to 4 years, being part of this program. And I know that's naive in today's day and age.
Rips your heart out.
I get it. Like, I'm not pretending that that's not where this is happening. It's just kind of sad because like that was what was different between college sports and professional sports, is that it was about that. And now where you're seeing guys bounce around more than you're seeing them bounce around in the professional leagues. Like, people are staying at pro teams longer than they are with the college teams based on the structure of this. But I do think in order to get some more normalcy and do that, there needs to be more of these kind of long-term deals so that we're not having to re-sign everybody at the end of every year.
Okay, 2 quick thoughts on that. One, we want to be thoughtful, insightful, compassionate to it. Like, it's not easy to navigate all that. It's not easy to be probably Dylan Raiola today, and I know that instant comment is, well, he's made a bunch of money. You're still navigating it. It's still hard. It's probably hard to be Aiden Childs. Say it didn't work out of Michigan. Your coach got fired, and now you're in the transfer portal. Like, it's not easy. So I want to start with that. I think from a school standpoint, saying, hey, let's have these social media moments where you're going to sign like you are in the National Football League. Part of me was like, whoa, shocked. The other part of me was like, oh, that's cool. And then the third part of me went, are you going to do 80 of them? Because you got to re-sign everybody. And as I've explored this conversation, the answer is yes. And it's also, I think, seen by schools as a good thing, because now we're putting it out there that you're here. So there's even more of a commitment potentially to like, yeah, this place is like, it's my guys. So I wonder for like you as an Arizona alum, as you see this shake out over the coming weeks, be curious to kind of get your pulse. Because again, we're fans first, and then we're professionals within the craft, but we love the game first. And it's a little jarring, but it's the new normal. As well as the new normal is that the floor for a big-time quarterback, what do you think it is?
The floor? probably
big. I mean, you're starting quarterback, like you're a real one, not premium, but like a mid-level power school, like Big 10, SEC, ACC, Big 12.
2-3 million.
No, 1.5.
1.5. Okay.
1.5.
Wow, I actually overshot the moon there.
Wow.
I'm kind of,
which is crazy anyway.
Yeah.
1.5. Some are making more, but it's just I just say that like, let's just brace ourselves so we're not the what the is happening group. Stuff's going to keep changing and keep shifting. We'll keep riding with it. We'll keep covering it. So with that, I do want to say thanks. It has been an amazing year that has gone by really fast. Jim, you said earlier, it's our second year doing these awards. So as we close here, I want to finish with just a big shout out to you and your support through all this thing. Our community at yoption.com, it continues to grow. Whether you're behind the paywall or in front of it, we appreciate that. We love doing this. It's not easy to do. We're busting our tails, but it's so fun to do. So we don't want to stop doing it. And then to our award winners. Presented by our founding partner, 76, keeping you on the go so you never miss a beat. 2025, our awards to finish this thing up. Fernando Mendoza, our 5-star quarterback out of Indiana. Makai Lemon, gone out of USC. Kenyon Sadiq, that dude, coming out of Eugene and the Oregon Ducks. And then our headset here, our coach of the year, everybody's coach of the year, Curt Cignetti, Indiana. Those are our 4 winners. We've done it every week on social media. Excited to do it here in a full podcast, Jim. Anything else you want to share before we cut this one loose?
No, I just can't wait for these games to see where this all leads us to. It should be a fun ride.
Fun, unpredictable, but let's also enjoy our holidays. All right, lots coming from Eugene this weekend. Jim's rolling. We're rolling. Thanks for the love. Thanks for the follow. And thanks for all the shares on that viral video. I think we hit like over 1 million views. So that was a first. All right, everybody. Talk to you soon. Peace.